And joining us now is Gordon Chang, author of The Coming Collapse of China and the Great U.S.-China Tech War. Gordon, welcome back. Always so great to talk with you. As we just heard, President Biden says he is pleased with the job Secretary of State Antony Blinken is doing with China. What's your analysis of how the talks are going?
Well, the talks went very rocky, as you said. The Chinese arrived in Anchorage not to have meaningful discussions with the U.S., but to lecture us, to dictate the terms under which the relationship will go forward. And they were extremely belligerent. And I think that the foreign ministry's comments of a few hours ago, that there was a, quote, strong smell of gunpowder, really was an indication that they're preparing the Chinese people for war. Now, I think they're bluffing. I think they're trying to test the Biden administration. But we know that militant regimes that bluff about war often start them. So we've got to be extremely concerned right now that deterrence is breaking down. And one more thing, Tracy. China's top diplomats said that the U.S. was no longer in a position of strength. That indicates that the Chinese very well may feel they can go out and do anything they want.
Yeah, Gordon, I was going to bring this up, too. I also understand the foreign affairs chief for China said basically that, they're not happy with America's interference with their internal affairs, and they would take firm actions in response. Pretty strong words there. What's your take on that?
I don't know what they could do. The world is basically united about genocide, crimes against humanity, against Uyghurs and Kazakhs, as well as against Tibetans. So, yeah, they can talk about that, but I don't know exactly what they're going to do on that, because I don't think they'd have those options.
Yeah. And as far as these talks, do we know why they're taking place right now at this moment? What's the significance of that? And has anything positive actually come from them?
Well, nothing's positive's come from them. I think that the Biden administration wanted to talk to senior Chinese officials early. I think it's a little bit premature, but what the Biden team tried to do was to talk to our friends in the region first, which is the reason why Secretary Blinken and Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, went to both Japan and South Korea. And as well, Lloyd Austin is going on to India next week, which is a very good sign. But I think we needed to lay even more groundwork, because the motto really should have been to act first and then talk later.
Gordon, do you think the way these talks are going right now so far, do you think it's a sign of how our relationship will look under the Biden administration with China?
Could very well be, because the Chinese have created a dynamic now that's going to be hard to unwind, at least in the short term, because they have shown how provocative they are. They've shown how they really feel about the United States and this innate hostility. That's going to be hard for Biden to walk back. I'm sure Biden would want to walk that back, but I'm not so sure that the American people are going to let him, and I'm not so sure that Beijing will let him.
Gordon, before I let you go, any final thoughts?
This is a moment which is exceedingly dangerous because, as I mentioned, although I don't think the Chinese are serious about war, what they're doing is they're creating markers for themselves with their own people. And that means any incident, they've got to have very little room for maneuver. So I just worry about what's going to go on going forward.
Well, Gordon, thank you so much for your time and your analysis. We always appreciate it. Gordon Chang, author of The Coming Collapse of China and the Great U.S.-China Tech War. Thank you again.
Thanks, Tracy.